Hello YouTube land. Well, here is my video response to another video. It's the game challenge. I'm not in any gaming class or designing of games, but I decided, why not? The description is in the doobly-doo, or hey, look right there. There it is. Alright. Now, the game is called Revolution. It's going to take place in the Revolutionary War between the United States, well, the colonists, and Great Britain, UK. Okay, it's going to be a simple version of it. It's a two-player game, so one person's going to be the Union, going to be the Brits. The other one's going to be the Yanks, Americans, whatever, colonists. You're going to need is several things. 4 counter types, okay? 1 to represent each unit type. You need 1 to represent infantry, 1 for cavalry, 1 for artillery, and 1 for ships. Alright, you got that? Good. Then you also need is little flags of the Union Jack and also Old Glory. Okay? Good, got that. Right. You'll also need is pencil, paper, and eraser. That is for keeping track of scores and yada yada yada. Okay. You're also going to need is a game board, which is going to be the original 13 colonies. Print it out if you don't have a map of it, or draw it crudely. So just draw the states from Maine all the way to Florida. I'm giving you Florida because, well, it's at the bottom of the eastern seaboard, and it's surrounded by water. That's the reason why for your ship. Okay. I know that Maine wasn't a colony yet. It was actually part of Massachusetts, so that's why. And plus, it's at the top of the eastern seaboard, so again, with the ships. Alright. You got it? Okay. Now, you're going to need is a 1d6, in other words, a 6-sided die, and a 1d2, in other words, a coin. If you don't have those, which, maybe you don't, get the freaking app. You can get it as Dragon Dice or any other dice throwing game app. You can find them on the Google Play Store or whatever operating system that your phone is using or your device is using, and you can find it is a dice throwing app. Get one that has at least those 2, or whatever works for your phone or works for you. Yeah, then get it, use it. Now, this is how it's going to work. You're going to do which way you choose on who's going to be first, who's going to be second, whatever. Alright, got that done of who's going first, who's going second? Alright. Each player is going to get only 10 counters in the very beginning of the game, and these are going to they can only pick units of infantry, cavalry, and artillery. You can have any combination of those 3. It doesn't matter, as long as you start out with 10, and each side gets only 1 ship. You'll understand. Alright. The colonists. You can place your units anywhere on the colonies you want. Doesn't matter. Just place as many as you want of your units that you have on there. Make sure all your pieces are on there. And your ship can be anywhere along the eastern seaboard. Alright? Got that. Now, the ones that are playing the Brits, Great Britain, redcoats, whatever. With you, it's a little more different with the rules. You have minimum at least 4 of your counter units have to be in one of the colonies together, and the reason why, that is your invasion point, and wherever you have is, let's say a minimum of 4, you're going to put your ship at that colony, on the eastern seaboard, okay? Let's say you had you decide to put 4 units in New York. So you're going to have in the New York Harbor on the, the seaboard of New York, you're going to put your ship there. And your other 6 units, you can place them willy-nilly across the board, wherever you want. They'll represent your soldiers that were already there. Alright? Good. Got that. Whoever goes first, goes first. You have is... The first movement is the units that are in... like, 2 enemies are... Like, let's say you have the colonists and the Brits both in the same exact colony. You have to start the fighting right then and there. Yeah, whoever starts playing, they have as a choice. They can go with the attack. Well, this is how it will be. I'll decide this. You can choose either to do it or not to do it. My first choice is that you could do is either attack or retreat to an adjacent colony. Okay? That's just how it is. My other choice is that it's an automatic attack no matter what. You just attack. Okay, let's say you decided to attack, or you decided, okay, we start out fighting. Okay, it doesn't matter either way. You decide. At this moment, Okay, let's say you two do fight. To solve who does what, it's going to be like this. The 6-sided die, you're going to roll a 1d6 for each of your units that you have. And this will be the damage that each of the units do. You write each of the numbers down, or you add it all up. They're attacking the enemy's land units. All right, that's how it is. And then the enemy, the other side, they do the same thing. This will be considered about who takes what damage and whatever. Alright? Now here's a little thing that I forgot to mention about the damage and stuff. Each unit gets a different HP type of set. Okay, infantry, your HP or hit points is 10 that you start out with. For each unit of infantry, it's 10. Cavalry's HP is 15. While artillery, it's 20. Okay, just how it is. So, you just keep on deciding, just roll back and forth, wiping out units as it were. Let's say, okay, let's say you did this until one side retreats or, dies. All their units are wiped out. Alright. Artillery units are automatically, even if it has 0 hit points now, that artillery unit is considered free game for the side that won. All artillery units would be considered, theirs. But if you want that artillery unit to be yours, to actually use it, you have to do is give up 1 infantry unit for the artillery unit. Okay? That'll represent, the people. I do it simple that way. And if you want, let's say, the cavalry unit. Alright. Let's say the cavalry, it's all cavalry. Well, you can also do is this. Flip a coin to decide, is there any casualties? Yes or no. And this will represent of casualties for cavalry and infantry. Just flip a coin. Let's say, heads there's casualties, survivors. Tails, not enough survivors to get an infantry unit. Or a cavalry unit. You just flip a coin, decide, let's say, you want to do, let's say, roll to flip to see if there's any, enough infantry units. If there is, then of the enemy, that piece would stay there on that territory and it would be considered as prisoners of war. Well, let's say you did the same thing for a cavalry unit and there was enough for, let's say, the horses to survive. Okay, to make a unit. Okay, let's say you did capture the horses. So, therefore, you still, just like with the cannons, you have to do is trade in your infantry unit for the cavalry unit. And then you do is, let's say you play the whole game, everybody did their movement phases, and all the combat was done. After that first turn, game turn as it were, you flip a coin to decide, let's say you have full control of New York. You flip a coin, let's just say, heads that you gain the popularity of the state where it's under your control, tails, you failed at it. Let's say you got heads, just for the heck of it. So you got, was New York. So you keep on doing this for each of the colonies. So let's say you did get New York. So at the beginning of the next turn, you already have to decide is, of the colonies, territories that you own, you have control, what is it going to make for you? You can only get one unit. It could be infantry, cavalry, cannon, or a ship. Alright? And that's what you get to pick. And that unit has to start at that colony. Let's say the colony is inland, so there no water, then therefore you can only do infantry, cavalry, or cannon. Let's just say you're just doing your own thing. But basically that's how it is. Alright. Now with combat have to do with ships. Okay. A ship can attack other ships. Or it can attack land units. In other words, it can do is a bombardment of the shore. It can only do one or the other per, combat phase or whatever. Okay? So let's say your ship is attacking land units in the very beginning, the first phase. It's already set up to attack land units, let's say bombardment. It can bombard. But the next turn for, let's say, your combat phase, if you want to attack another ship, you have to use that phase as your turning phase. In other words, your ship has to move to get ready to attack the enemy unit. Kind of the same way with cannons. Cannons can attack land units or can attack ships. But in the beginning, it has to choose one or the other of what it's going to attack. And that's all it's going to do. So let's say your cannon wants to starts off attacking land units. Then let's say you want now to have them turn to attack the ships. Well, it's going to take you is a turn to, combat turn to hitch it back. So let's say it took you one turn to move it up, so that's a non-combat, fighting phase. And then the next combat phase is its movement phase. Let's say you're turning it to point to a ship. Alright. And then the next phase, next time once your turn to fight, to shoot, attack, that's when you actually can attack a ship. Or, it's a line of bombardment of a ship. Bombardment! Okay. That's the basic rules on that. Alright, let's say you didn't have any infantry units yourself of enough, or you didn't want, let's say, the cavalry unit, the horses, or changing your infantry into cavalry or infantry into the cannons, artillery unit. Let's say you didn't want those. Well, those pieces will still be on the territory. It will be representative of one of two things. You can do is that the beginning of your next turn you can have is that, let's say you didn't want to waste your infantry unit, or let's say you didn't have infantry unit left to turn into a new cavalry. You still have the horses, so the beginning of the next turn, let's say you own that territory, that colony, you had control of it. Well, instead of getting one cavalry unit, you got was two. Well, the unit that you already had of the horses, all you had to do was add men to it. So, you got men, and you got was another cavalry unit as well. The territory made was a cavalry unit. Ba-dum-bum. That's how it's going to work. Same thing with cannons. Do the same thing, All you just need is add men. But let's say, I got was infantry units. Well, that would be considered, you captured an enemy's infantry units, you don't get to keep them. They will stay on that land as specifying as prisoners of war. So in case of the enemy gets control of that territory, they could do is gain control of that piece. In other words, that infantry unit. It'll be back into their pool of infantry. That's how it's going to work with that. So, I want you to do is make the game, as it were, and game test it. Tell me how you like it. Add some rules to it. Expand upon it. Although this is a very short version of it, it's for at least 2 players. It'll work well. So, ciao for now. Oh, what? You're still here? Oh, okay. Well, congratulations for watching all the way through to the end of the video. Well, if you're going to start spamming the board and specifying, oh, this is exactly like so-and-so game, or it's a, it's a rip-off of Shogun, or you just ripped off of Ogre. Well, big deal. There's a lot of games that are just like that. Here is today's quiz. This, you can answer it by messaging me or putting in the message, in the comments below. The question here is the game Ogre. Alright? It's about the game Ogre. Alright, here's the question. Why was the game Ogre created in the first place? What is the reason? If you know, give me the answer. It's a lot simpler or difficult depending on your point of view of what it really is. And you will find out that I'm not the only one that rips off a game. Even a game rips itself off. That's your little clue. Well, ciao.